I remember a time when I thought success was this distant mountain, something I'd climb one day when the conditions were perfect. But let me tell you something I learned the hard way. Waiting doesn't change your life, action does. Small, consistent actions. You don't have to wait for the stars to align or for some magical opportunity to knock on your door. The tools to transform your life are already in your hands. You don't have to hit rock bottom to realize it's time for a change. I've met people at the peak of success who felt empty, and I've met people with almost nothing who felt fulfilled. The difference isn't in their circumstances, it's in their habits, their mindset, their daily choices. And the good news? You can start making those choices today. So let me share 8 proven ways to dramatically improve your life, starting the moment you walk out that door. I've often said, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines, practiced every day. And you know what? That's not just a catchy phrase. It's the foundation of everything I've ever achieved in my life. You see, people tend to think success is some big event, like winning the lottery or stumbling onto the perfect opportunity. But that's not how it works. Success isn't some grand, singular moment. It's a series of small, seemingly insignificant actions repeated consistently over time. And that all starts with one thing, your daily routine. Let me take you back to when I was just starting out. I was broke, frustrated, and full of excuses. I kept waiting for that one big break, thinking success would just magically appear. But then I met a mentor who changed my life. He didn't give me a handout. He gave me something more valuable, perspective. He asked me, "Jim, what does your day look like?" I shrugged. "Not much," I said. He smiled and replied, "That's your problem." It hit me like a ton of bricks. I realized my lack of success wasn't because of bad luck or lack of opportunity. It was because I had no structure, no daily discipline. I was letting life happen to me instead of taking charge of it. So I started small. I crafted a routine. I dedicated time every day to learning, to working on my goals, to improving myself. And little by little, things started to shift. Here's the truth. Your routine is the blueprint of your future. You can't expect extraordinary results from ordinary habits. If you wake up every day and leave your actions to chance, you're handing over control of your life. But when you create a routine, when you design your day, you take back that control. Think about it like planting seeds. If you plant the right seeds and nurture them daily, eventually you'll have a thriving garden. But if you neglect the soil, skip watering, or forget to pull the weeds, don't be surprised when nothing grows. Your life works the same way. The habits you cultivate daily, whether good or bad, are the seeds that shape your future. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you need some rigid hour-by-hour schedule. Life is flexible. But you need a framework, a set of non-negotiable habits that move you forward. Maybe it's reading 10 pages of a good book every day. Maybe it's dedicating 30 minutes to your health. Maybe it's setting aside time to reflect on your goals. Whatever it is, do it consistently. I've met people who think they don't have time for routines. But the truth is, you don't have time not to. The cost of inconsistency is far greater than the effort of building good habits. When you skip the small things, you pay for it in big ways later. But when you stay consistent, even in the smallest efforts, you build momentum, and that momentum compounds over time. So, if you want to dramatically improve your life, start by looking at your day. What does it look like? Are your habits moving you closer to where you want to be, or are they keeping you stuck where you are? The good news is, you don't have to overhaul everything overnight. Just start small. One habit, one routine, and watch how your life begins to change. Because in the end, success doesn't come from what you do once in a while. It comes from what you do every single day. Number 2, invest in continuous learning. Your mind is your greatest asset. It's the engine that drives your life forward, and the more you feed it, the further you'll go. But here's the catch. If you stop learning, you stop growing. And if you stop growing, you start declining. There's no standing still in life. You're either moving forward or falling behind. Let me tell you a story. When I was a young man, I wasn't exactly on the fast track to success. I was working hard, but I wasn't getting anywhere. I was frustrated, broke, and wondering why life seemed to be passing me by. That's when I met a man who would become my mentor. He asked me, "Jim, how much time do you spend learning each day?" I was confused. I thought I'd finished learning when I left school, but he shook his head and said, "If you want to change your life, you've got to change your mind first." That advice changed everything for me. I realized that my lack of progress wasn't because of bad luck or bad circumstances. It was because I had stopped investing in myself. So I started small. I picked up books, I listened to tapes. I surrounded myself with people who were smarter than me. And little by little, my world began to change. Opportunities started to appear. My thinking got sharper, my confidence grew. It wasn't magic. It was the result of feeding my mind every day. Here's the truth. Life will only give you what you're prepared to handle. If your knowledge is limited, your opportunities will be too. But when you make learning a habit, when you commit to growing your mind, you expand what's possible in your life. And I'm not just talking about formal education. I'm talking about real-world learning. Read books that challenge you. Listen to people who inspire you. Attend seminars. Take courses. Learn new skills. The more you know, the more valuable you become, not just to others, but to yourself. And don't fall into the trap of thinking you've got to learn everything at once. Learning is a lifelong journey, not a race. When I first started, I committed to reading just one book a month. That's it. But over time, that small habit compounded. One book became two became 10, and pretty soon, I was feeding my mind a steady diet of new ideas and perspectives. And those ideas transformed the way I saw the world and the way the world saw me. Think about it this way. Your mind is like a garden. If you plant good seeds, ideas, knowledge, wisdom, you'll grow a beautiful, fruitful life. But if you neglect it, weeds will take over. You'll get stuck in old patterns, outdated thinking, and limited beliefs. The world is changing fast, and if you're not learning, you're falling behind. I've met people who say, "I don't have time to read," or "I'm too busy to learn something new," but the truth is, you don't have time not to. The cost of ignorance is far greater than the effort of learning. Every day you spend stuck in old knowledge is a day you miss out on new opportunities. And it doesn't take hours a day. Just a little bit of learning consistently applied can change your life. So, if you want to dramatically improve your life today, start by investing in the greatest asset you have, your mind. Feed it, challenge it, stretch it. Because when you grow your mind, you grow your life. Number 3, set clear, written goals. You can't hit a target you can't see. And yet so many people are drifting through life without a clear destination. They wake up, go through the motions, and wonder why they're not getting anywhere. But here's the secret. Direction determines destination. If you don't set clear, written goals, you'll end up wherever the wind blows, and chances are it won't be where you want to be. I remember when I was young and struggling. I thought working hard was enough to get ahead. I was busy, always doing something, but I wasn't making any real progress. Then one day, my mentor sat me down and asked, "Jim, what are your goals?" I gave him a vague answer, something like, "I just want to do better, make more money." He smiled and said, "That's not a goal, that's a wish. A goal is specific, clear, and written down." That was a turning point for me. From that day on, I started writing down my goals. And I'm not talking about just thinking about them. I mean physically writing them down on paper. There's something powerful about seeing your goals in front of you. It turns them from abstract ideas into concrete commitments. When you write them down, you're making a promise to yourself. And that's where the magic happens. Now, setting goals isn't just about the what, it's also about the why. Why do you want to achieve this? What will it mean for your life? When your goals are tied to a strong purpose, they become more than just tasks on a list. They become your driving force. For me, one of my first goals was to get out of debt. But it wasn't just about the money. It was about the freedom it would bring, the confidence I'd gain, and the life I wanted to build. That purpose kept me going, even when things got tough. Another important part of goal setting is being specific. It's not enough to say, I want to be successful. What does success look like to you? How much money do you want to make? What kind of relationships do you want to have? What skills do you want to develop? The clearer you are, the easier it is to create a plan and measure your progress. When I first set a goal to increase my income, I didn't just say, I want to make more money. I wrote down exactly how much I wanted to earn and by when. That clarity gave me focus and direction. But here's the key. Goals without action are just dreams. Writing them down is the first step. But you've got to take consistent action to make them a reality. And sometimes that means adjusting your goals along the way. Life isn't always predictable, and your goals might shift as you grow and learn. That's okay. The important thing is to keep moving forward, always with your destination in mind. I've met a lot of people who say, I don't need to write my goals down. I keep them in my head. But let me tell you, if your goals stay in your head, they're easy to forget, easy to ignore, and easy to abandon. When they're written down, they become a part of your daily life. You see them, you're reminded of them, and you're more likely to take the steps needed to achieve them. So, if you want to dramatically improve your life today, start by setting clear, written goals. Know exactly where you want to go and why it matters. Because when you have a destination, every step you take has purpose, and that's how you turn your dreams into reality. Number 4, master the art of discipline. Discipline is one of those words that people tend to shy away from because it sounds rigid, maybe even a little harsh. But let me tell you something. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Without it, all the goals, dreams, and ambitions in the world won't amount to much. Success isn't about doing one big thing right. It's about doing the small things consistently, even when you don't feel like it. That's where discipline steps in. I wasn't always a disciplined person. In fact, I used to be quite the opposite. I'd procrastinate, make excuses, and convince myself that I could always start tomorrow. But tomorrow has a funny way of turning into next week, and next week into next year. I remember a time when I had a stack of books I meant to read, a list of goals I planned to tackle, and a bunch of ideas I wanted to act on. But none of it happened because I lacked discipline. Then one day my mentor gave me a simple but powerful lesson. He said, Jim, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. That hit me hard. I realized I didn't need to overhaul my entire life overnight. I just needed to commit to small, consistent actions. It's not about reading an entire book in one sitting. It's about reading 10 pages a day. It's not about making $1 million tomorrow. It's about saving a little, investing wisely, and working steadily toward that goal. Discipline isn't glamorous. It's not the part people post about on social media, but it's the quiet force that builds momentum. Think about it like this. A drop of water doesn't seem powerful, but over time, consistent drops can carve through stone. That's what discipline does to your life. Those small efforts, day in and day out, compound into extraordinary results. I remember when I first started in business, I didn't have the biggest clients or the most impressive portfolio, but what I did have was discipline. I made a habit of showing up early, staying late, and doing the work that others weren't willing to do. And you know what? That consistency paid off. Over time, people started to notice. Opportunities came my way, not because I was the most talented person in the room. I was disciplined. Here's the thing about discipline. It's not about being perfect. You're going to have days when you slip up, when you miss a workout, when you skip reading, when you feel like giving up. That's normal. But discipline is about getting back on track the next day. It's about not letting one off day turn into an off week or an off month. The key is persistence, not perfection. Another lesson I've learned is that discipline breeds freedom. It sounds contradictory, doesn't it? But think about it. When you're disciplined with your time, you gain control over your schedule. When you're disciplined with your money, you gain financial freedom. When you're disciplined with your health, you gain energy and vitality. Discipline might feel like a restriction in the moment, but in the long run, it opens up more opportunities than you can imagine. So, if you want to see real, lasting change in your life, master the art of discipline. Start small, stay consistent, and watch how those little efforts add up to something incredible. Because in the end, it's not the big, dramatic moves that shape your life. It's the small, disciplined actions you take every single day. Number 5, embrace failure as feedback. Every setback is a setup for a comeback. Failure. It's a word most people dread. We're taught to avoid it, to fear it, to see it as the ultimate sign that we're not good enough. But here's a little secret. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's a critical part of it. Every successful person you admire, every leader, every innovator, every trailblazer, they all have something in common. They've failed, and not just once. They've failed over and over again. But instead of letting those failures define them, they used them as stepping stones. I remember early in my career when I tried my hand at a new business venture. I was excited, motivated, and convinced that I had everything figured out. But guess what? It flopped. Big time. I lost money, I felt embarrassed, and for a moment, I thought about giving up. I thought maybe I wasn't cut out for this. But then I realized something. Failure wasn't the end of the story. It was just feedback. It was life's way of saying, not quite, try again, but smarter this time. You see, failure teaches you things success never will. When you succeed, you feel good, but you might not reflect deeply on what actually worked. But when you fail, you analyze every detail. You figure out what went wrong, where you missed the mark, and how you can improve. Failure sharpens you. It forces you to adapt, to grow, and to develop resilience. Think about Thomas Edison, the man who invented the light bulb. Do you know how many times he failed before he got it right? Over 1,000. But when asked about it, he said, I have not failed, I've just found 1,000 ways that won't work. That's the mindset you need to adopt. Every setback isn't a sign you should quit. It's a setup for a comeback. It's a lesson in disguise. In my own life, I've faced plenty of setbacks. There were times when I invested in the wrong opportunities, trusted the wrong people, or simply made mistakes because I didn't know any better. But each time, I asked myself, what can I learn from this? That question changed everything. Instead of dwelling on the failure, I focused on the lesson. And with each lesson, I became stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the next opportunity. Failure also builds character. It teaches humility, patience, and perseverance. It humbles you in ways success never can, reminding you that you're not invincible. And that's a good thing. Because when you approach life with humility and a willingness to learn, you open yourself up to growth. You become more adaptable, more resourceful, and more resilient. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking they need to avoid failure at all costs. But the real danger isn't in failing, it's in letting that failure stop you from trying again. When you let fear of failure paralyze you, you miss out on opportunities, experiences, and growth. But when you embrace failure as feedback, you give yourself permission to take risks, to step out of your comfort zone, and to chase after your goals with courage. So, the next time you stumble, don't see it as the end of the road. See it as part of the journey. Learn from it, adjust your course, and keep moving forward. Because every setback you face isn't there to defeat you. It's there to prepare you for an even greater comeback. Number 6, develop financial intelligence. Control your money, before it controls you. Money, it's one of those things that can either be a tool for freedom or a source of endless stress. But here's the truth most people don't realize. Money isn't just about how much you earn. It's about how well you manage what you have. You see, developing financial intelligence isn't just for the wealthy or people in business. It's for everyone, because if you don't learn to control your money will end up controlling you. I'll never forget early in my career when I was earning more than I ever had before. You'd think that would solve all my problems, right? But here's the funny part. I still found myself worrying about money. Why? Because I didn't know how to manage it properly. I was spending as fast as I was earning, thinking that the solution to my financial stress was to just make more. But let me tell you, it doesn't matter how much you make if you don't know how to keep it, grow it, and make it work for you. I learned that lesson the hard way, and it hit me. Financial success isn't about the size of your paycheck. It's about the wisdom behind how you handle that paycheck. That's what financial intelligence is all about. It's understanding where your money goes, knowing how to budget, save, invest, and spend wisely. It's about making money work for you, not the other way around. One of the first things I started doing was tracking every dollar I spent. It sounds simple, but most people have no idea where their money goes. You'd be surprised how quickly those little, it's just $5 purchases add up. And once I saw where my money was actually going, I realized how much I was wasting on things that didn't add any real value to my life. That was the first step, awareness. The second step was learning how to save and invest. I started small, setting aside just a portion of my income regularly. It wasn't much at first, but it grew over time. And that's the beauty of financial intelligence. It's not about making huge leaps overnight. It's about consistent, smart decisions that add up over time. I also began educating myself about investments, not just relying on what others told me, but really understanding how money grows, how interest works, and how to take calculated risks. And here's another important lesson. Avoid debt like it's a trap, because it is. Debt has a way of sneaking up on you, and before you know it, you're working just to pay off what you owe. That's not freedom. That's financial slavery. Now, I'm not saying all debt is bad, but unnecessary debt, the kind that comes from impulse spending or trying to keep up with appearances, that's the kind that'll weigh you down. But perhaps the biggest shift came when I changed my mindset about money. I stopped seeing it as something to chase and started viewing it as a tool to build the life I wanted, to create opportunities, and to help others. When you treat money with respect and handle it wisely, it becomes a source of empowerment, not stress. So here's the takeaway. It doesn't matter where you're starting from. You don't have to be a financial genius to get your money under control, but you do need to be intentional. Learn how to manage what you have, educate yourself, and make smart decisions. Because when you develop financial intelligence, you're not just securing your future, you're taking back control of your life. Number 7, learn to communicate effectively. Now, I'm not just talking about public speaking or giving presentations, though that's certainly important. I'm talking about everyday communication, the conversations we have with our family, friends, colleagues, even strangers. Because how you use your words can either build bridges or burn them. It can open doors or slam them shut. And if you don't learn how to communicate effectively, you're limiting your potential in every area of life. Early in my career, I wasn't the best communicator. I knew how to talk, sure, but I didn't always know how to connect. There's a big difference between talking to someone and talking with someone. I remember sitting in meetings where I'd rattle off facts, figures, and ideas, thinking I was impressing everyone in the room. But instead of nods of agreement, I'd get blank stares or polite smiles. It wasn't until a mentor pulled me aside and said, "Jim, you're saying a lot, but you're not saying anything, that it hit me. It wasn't about how much I talked. It was about how well I connected. See, communication isn't just about what you say. It's about how it's received. Are you listening as much as you're speaking? Are you paying attention to how your words are landing? Are you tailoring your message to resonate with the person in front of you? Those are the real questions that matter. I learned that effective communication starts with listening. Not just hearing, but really listening. When you listen, you understand where the other person is coming from. You pick up on their needs, their concerns, their values. And when you understand that, you can speak in a way that truly connects. I remember having a conversation with a colleague who was struggling with a project. Instead of jumping in with solutions like I used to, I stopped and really listened. And you know what? Halfway through talking, he figured out his own solution. Sometimes people don't need answers. They just need to feel heard. But it's not just about listening. It's also about being clear and intentional with your words. Have you ever been in a situation where a simple misunderstanding turned into a huge problem? That's the power of poor communication. I've seen business deals fall apart, relationships strain, and opportunities slip away, all because someone didn't take the time to be clear. And here's another thing. Your words carry weight. They can inspire, motivate, and uplift. But they can also hurt, discourage, and tear down. I've learned that a careless word can do more damage than you realize, and a kind word can go further than you ever expected. I've had people come up to me years after a conversation and say, "Jim, what you said to me that day changed my life." And sometimes I didn't even remember saying it, but they remembered. That's the impact words can have. One of the best investments you can make is learning how to communicate effectively, whether it's through improving your public speaking, practicing active listening, or simply being more thoughtful about your words. It all makes a difference, because when you master the art of communication, you're not just improving your relationships, you're opening up new opportunities, building trust, and creating a foundation for success in every area of your life. So remember this: your words are powerful tools. Use them wisely. Speak with intention. Listen with care. And always aim to connect, not just communicate. Number 8, practice patience and persistence. Success is a long game. If there's one thing I've learned on my journey, it's that success doesn't happen overnight. In fact, anything worth having takes time, effort, and a whole lot of patience. But here's the thing. Most people give up way too soon. They want quick results, fast rewards, instant gratification, and when things don't happen on their timeline, they throw in the towel, thinking it wasn't meant to be. But success isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. It's a long game, and if you don't learn to practice patience and persistence, you'll miss out on some of the greatest rewards life has to offer. I remember when I first started out in business. I was eager, full of ambition, and ready to conquer the world. But after a few months of hard work with little to show for it, I started to wonder if I was cut out for it. I'd see others succeeding faster, making more money, hitting milestones I hadn't even come close to. It was tempting to think, maybe this isn't for me. But then I realized something crucial. Those people weren't necessarily better or smarter than me. They had just been at it longer. They had stayed in the game when others had quit. And that's the difference patience and persistence make. You see, patience isn't just about waiting, it's about how you wait. It's about staying committed even when progress feels slow. It's about trusting the process, knowing that the seeds you're planting today will bear fruit in time. I've seen so many people dig halfway to success, only to stop just before they hit gold. They didn't fail because they lacked talent or opportunity. They failed because they didn't stick with it long enough. Persistence, on the other hand, is what keeps you moving forward when things get tough. And believe me, things will get tough. There will be setbacks, obstacles, moments when you question everything. But persistence is what separates those who succeed from those who don't. It's the ability to keep going, even when the results aren't immediate. I've faced rejection, failure, and plenty of disappointments in my life. But every time I got knocked down, I got back up. And every time I pushed through, I came out stronger on the other side. I remember a story about a young man who wanted to build a successful career. He worked hard for years, but nothing seemed to click. Frustrated, he considered giving up and trying something else. But then he reminded himself why he started. He kept showing up, kept improving, and eventually, things began to turn around. Success didn't come in a flash. It came slowly, steadily, as a result of his persistence and patience. The truth is, most people overestimate what they can achieve in a short time and underestimate what they can achieve in the long run. If you're willing to play the long game, if you're willing to be patient and persistent, there's almost nothing you can't achieve. It's not about how fast you get there. It's about staying on the path, no matter how long it takes. So, if you're feeling frustrated because success hasn't come as quickly as you'd like, take a step back and remind yourself, success is a journey, not a destination. Stay patient, stay persistent, and keep moving forward. Because in the end, the only way to fail is to quit.